Jump scare. K-Dog's movie review. Oddity is directed by Damian McCarthy and stars Gwilym Lee, Carolyn Bracken, and Todd Murphy. A psychic medium attempts to uncover the truth behind her sister's murder at the site of the crime. Okay, so new horror just dropped. I didn't really know much about this movie. I think I'd seen one trailer a few months ago and pretty much forgot about it. But I was looking on my movie app and I saw that it was playing near me, so I wanted to go check it out. Like most movies, at the end of the day, I'm just looking for a good time. The worst that your movie can be is boring. So if you can accomplish that feat, not being boring, I think it's worth my time, whether really bad or really good. And this year, we've had a few good horror movies so far. So I was looking forward to this one. So I sat my ass down in the theater and watched. And I gotta say, it's a damn good time. To put it simply, the best way I can describe seeing this movie, especially in theaters, it's kind of like a haunted house. Yes, there's a lot of dread and build-up for certain scenes, and the acting is very well done. But the scares themselves, particularly the jump scares, and just being in this claustrophobic place during the entire runtime really makes you feel like you're in a haunted house. Jump scares have often become synonymous with bad horror movies, but if they're done well, they can be super effective. They give you that feeling of scared excitement. But what sets apart the jump scares in this movie from other shittier horror movies is that they actually stick with you and make you scared for the next one coming up. This movie puts you constantly on edge, waiting for the next scary moment. And to be realistic, it's not like the entire movie is jump scares. There is a lot of atmosphere in this movie. Except for the jump scares, a lot of my time with this movie was similar to Longlegs. There is a great vibe here, a great setup that puts us on this sort of heightened sense of anxiety throughout the entire movie, unsure of where it's going to go. And I think a lot of that has to do with the storytelling for this movie. We basically learn more about this person's death as time goes on, the events that led up to it, and what caused it. It's done in a way that makes it fresh and exciting as the movie goes on. There is a great blending of CG and practical effects here. Again, like I said earlier, this movie is very intimate. We really only deal with a small handful of characters in just 2 or maybe 3 locations. A lot of horror movies, you have scenes where you can escape, but this movie barely has any of those. It really puts you on edge throughout the entire movie, which is hard to do in horror. But here it's done really well, and I gotta praise it for that. The acting all around is also really well done. The characters in this movie, who definitely fall into some tropes, which I'll get into in a little bit, they still, despite those tropes, feel human and fleshed out. They feel like 3-dimensional characters, despite the tropes, if that makes sense. And I think that really has to do with the acting. It is really good here. The sound design is also amazing here. I love when a horror movie has the confidence to go quiet and just linger in silence, but also ramp up those horrific sounds when appropriate. And I really enjoyed the sound design of the monster in this movie. It was really well done. Now, my concern with this movie is very similar to Longlegs, actually, in that the plot is the worst part of it. There was one point in the movie where I went, oh, is this where we're going? And the whole vibe kind of lost its cachet. After that, we go back into more horrific scenes, and I feel scared because it's well executed. But when I think about the overall story and what's happening, it just, I don't know, it left me wanting more. And so I think that's why I go back to saying that this feels like a haunted house. It's something that you pay a fee for, the price of a movie ticket. You go in, you have a great time with the scares, but overall, the lore and the characters and the overall experience isn't going to stick with you. It's more so the feelings that you get while in the haunted house. It's fun and exciting at the time, but I can go to bed at night after. It doesn't linger with me for days. This isn't a movie that necessarily is going to sit with you on the drive home. It's just, in my opinion, a great time. And I'm not going to sit here and bash a movie when it fulfilled its purpose. Like I said, it's well shot. The use of sound is really well done here. The acting is on point. The characters are likable enough and their interactions are engaging enough so that I wasn't bored with what was going on. And ultimately, the scares that did occur in this movie had me on edge, waiting for the next one. And so for that, I really have to praise it. I could sit here in a spoiler section and really rip apart the character motivations and the overall writing of this movie, but I had a good time, and so I don't really feel the need to do that. A movie like this is why I don't really do gradings on this channel, because while this movie really brought out one of the better experiences that I've had this year in a movie theater, I don't think this movie is going to linger with me for very long. But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. This movie is executed really well. The direction behind here is really good, and I'm really looking forward to more movies by this filmmaker. This movie does have a limited release. It's not showing at every single theater. I definitely recommend seeing it in one if you can, because like a haunted house attraction, this movie feels like it was made to be experienced with family and friends in a packed theater. Please let me know what you guys thought of this movie in the comments below. Have you seen the filmmaker's other movie, Caveat? Is this one of your favorites of the year? Did this surprise you like it surprised me? Till next time.